for ma'am, and then return to that location to complete the timer, as I would have committed the crime, man. Additionally, they adore them. In that residence, they adore it. They adore them, ma'am, but surprised to discover her. However, you are aware of the extent of my daughter's suffering as a result of her injury. You know, your frame is getting smaller now, you know. Specifically for them to sit down and attempt to obtain assistance or not. All I want is justice. Now, the fact that the authorities have not yet been able to determine who is responsible for Robinson or Shanquella's deaths is astonishment to many people. Even though everyone seems to be looking at her trip companions, a new update suggests that they might not have been directly to blame for her death. I can understand your thoughts. This is a crazy chase. However, the fact of the matter is that these assertions regarding the Cabo Six's partial responsibility are actually supported by evidence and specific timeframes. The fact that the update appears to have exposed the Mexican government for enabling some less than ideal dealings in the country's medical sector, which may have had a hand in her death, makes this news even more convincing. I can tell you are already interested in this new update. To ensure that you don't miss anything, make sure you stay tuned until the very end of the video. Okay, I know it sounds a little crazy to involve the entire Mexican government in a single person's murder case, but the fact of the matter is that it all adds up to the Mexican government in this case, and is not even directly related to the government. Simply something that has been documented in the nation. You see, the most recent update about the events that led to Shanquella's murder suggests that getting her medical attention was probably the result of bad luck. According to the original report, on October 29, Robinson's body was discovered by authorities in the living room of her San Jose del Cabo vacation rental. However, the initial local police reports provide varying timelines for the events of that day. Around 2:00 p.m., a guest allegedly informed the resort's medical staff that Robinson had consumed a lot of alcohol. That moment, ABC News obtained a local police report that states that despite a doctor's recommendation that Robinson be taken to the hospital due to dehydration, none of her friends did so. She passed away later from cardiac arrest. According to the police report, however, friends who were visiting her at the time have revealed that things did not go as smoothly as the police report claimed. The specifics of what transpired after the doctor was contacted suggest that they did not refuse to transport her to the hospital. It seemed more like they were unable to pay for the necessary medical care. In particular, the report says that Shanquella's medical help was probably called in at 213. On October 29, her friend rented a villa. In addition, Robinson was assisted by Dr. Gutierrez from the American Medical Center, a nearby hospital, after the call had been made for an hour. Upon his arrival, others at the house informed Gutierrez that Robinson had consumed a lot of alcohol, prompting him to administer Robinson's IV. The doctor's diagnosis of Robinson at the time of his arrival, which revealed that he was dehydrated, unable to communicate verbally, and appeared to be drunk, is then described in the report. The doctor had suggested that she be taken to a hospital right away at this point, but Title VI has shown that that recommendation had a clause attached to it. They claimed that Gutierrez had advised them that it could cost as much as $5,000. Extortion was the next course of action, given that they were staying at a pricey hotel, and that vacationing Americans are typically wealthy. Additionally, that particular fact was a factor in Robinson's debt condemnation. However, the fact that this has been occurring to a number of Americans whenever they travel to Mexico for some time now makes this scheme even more complex. In point of fact, there have been so many reports of this kind of extortion that not only did the American government learn about it, but they also issued a warning to citizens traveling to Mexico about it. But the American warning, Mexico's extortion of Americans, was not the only issue for the government. This became a daily occurrence in Jet General due to a warning about a specific hospital. And can you name the establishment? Exactly? Yep, the exact same place where Shanquella was supposed to be taken. In accordance with the U.S. report, government, the United States has filed numerous complaints. People who claimed that the hospital wanted tens of thousands of dollars in advance, threatened the relatives of the patients, and refused to release clinical reports on the actual care they provided. That led the U.S. to issue the unusual health alert regarding Street Luke's business practices from the consulate in Tijuana. Citizens of the United States have reported instances of obstructing medical evacuations, refusing to discharge patients without payment, ordering unnecessary procedures while withholding passports, withholding payment for care, and failing to provide itemized lists of charges. Even though issuing this warning about a particular hospital already demonstrates the depth of the problems Americans face in Mexico, the consulate said in the alert that the scam goes far beyond simply choosing not to go to that hospital. The consulate's revelation indicates that there is some evidence that Street Luke's reimburses hotels and ambulances for transporting American patients there. Please be advised that hotels and resorts in the Los Cabos region may have existing contracts or informal relationships with Street Luke's, according to the consulate's letter. That seemed to be a reference to local media reports that the hospital pays ambulance drivers to bring American patients to Street Luke's. Because of this, there is now a widespread belief that Robinson's death may have been facilitated by the Mexican government as well as by the Cabos Six through these hospitals. It also appears that this theory is supported by the FBI. When it comes to extraterritorial cases, particularly those involving the Mexican government, former FBI Assistant Director Swecker stated, "They're hit or miss in terms of their competence, number one. This is especially true when dealing with the prosecutors, federal police, and judicial police in Mexico. Number two, as well as their drive to actually move forward with the case. Therefore, before we can actually introduce the evidence into the United States, we must have it in our possession. Courts, all of that is accomplished by treaty, which entails 4 typical paper requests that are sent back and forth with ribbons and bows. In Mexico, the bureaucratic process is even more time-consuming and laborious. The expert also suggested, however, that the Cabos Six might not be completely innocent given that they also provided video evidence of themselves. An apparent attack on Shanquella goes viral. They also lied to the doctor about how she became unconscious before he arrived, though. According to Swecker, you have the video. It goes without saying that stored email and text data can be retrieved. Typically, people are careless at the time, and then they text back and forth about what happened or try to piece their story together after the fact. Therefore, I'm pretty sure that the FBI is conducting interviews and closely examining the electronic evidence.